Hey everyone, welcome back to the Superhero Show. Daniel and Chris here. Now, Chris, what do you want to talk about?
My feelings. Is that not for? Is that not for
Christ,
this?
it's going to be a long show.
Is that not for Superhero Show? Can I talk about the Winter Soldier and Captain America?
And your feelings for him?
Yes.
Okay, and his big metal
He's a
arm.
good-looking man.
He
Both
is.
good-looking men.
Wait, he looks a lot like Mark Hamill.
He does. Meme
That
alert.
was scary, wasn't it?
Meme alert. Yeah, has there been a little bit of touching up there, do you
I
think?
don't know, like, is blended into the rest of his head, which
Yeah.
obviously helps. Still
That's-
quite good, though.
It's not what we're here to talk about.
No, but put it up, Dale.
We might touch on Captain America Civil War spoilers here, though.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen it yet, and if you haven't, why you watch the Superhero Show?
Yeah.
It's come out everywhere now. So yeah, come back if you haven't done that yet.
Imagine
But-
watching this show if you didn't see that film.
Well, not in the first week.
Yeah.
You should see it in the first week.
Yeah.
Maybe not the first day, if you might have something on.
Yeah. But just, yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about whether or not the Winter Soldier might become Captain America. And that's because at a Q&A on stage recently, Sebastian Stan, who plays Bucky Barnes, said something or kind of alluded to the fact that the plan is for him to take on the role.
It's a weird way he relays that information.
Yes.
Like, he's kind of talking about maybe when he was first approached by Marvel and they were pitching it to him. That's how I kind of took the way. It was like, oh yeah, and you'll come in, you'll do this and this, and then eventually you'll be Captain America.
And I'll be honest, he isn't 100% coherent.
No.
I don't know if he's had a couple of beers before going on stage. Am I allowed to say that?
He's not on his arse going, oi!
No, he just seems a little bit kind of, a little wobbly. And so he kind of comes out and says to the crowd, do you think I should be Captain America? And they all kind of cheer. And then he kind of talks about this story and he says, I'll quote directly,
Okay.
I was sitting there in a room with them. Basically, they were saying to me, this is what's going to happen. He's going to become the Winter Soldier and then eventually he's going to be Captain America. And then he kind of trails off a bit. And then he says, and I was like, that sounds great. And then he kind of slightly incoherently trails off again and then talks about the fact that it was all very overwhelming.
Yeah.
But that would suggest that there is this master plan in place that we, all think is there. But sometimes I think, are they just winging it? And other times I think, yeah, maybe this was all there right from the beginning.
Yeah, and also he's one of the people that we found a couple of years ago. This came out that he had like a crazy big picture deal, and there's two ways you can interpret that. After the initial round of stars signed off, and they're like, let's just lock everyone up on a massive deal.
Cover our asses.
Cover our asses. Or you can interpret it different ways, like they have specific plans for him. And he has, over the recent years, become quite a central and important character to that universe. Civil War shows that. Like, he's a massive part of that film.
Yeah.
For such a recently invented Marvel character as well.
Yeah. So, I wouldn't be surprised if that is the plan. I mean, it's happened in the comics. Why couldn't it happen in the films? And they've obviously got to think about a world without Chris Evans as well. He's done so many of these films at this point. A lot of these guys, you've got to wonder how long they will keep going. Obviously, the money's good, but there must come a point where you're like, maybe I want to do some other stuff every year rather than the same character. So then it's kind of something to fall back on if they've got this already in place.
So, playing devil's advocate, do you think I just don't know how he could be accepted as Captain America. Like, and obviously he has a similar shady past in the comics, and he assumes that mantle. But it feels like just the entire world is terrified of him.
Yeah.
And Cap has to be this person that everyone just loves. Like, men and women adore him. Like, he's a suspicious-looking dude.
How about this?
Haircut, shave.
How about this?
What?
Just thought of because I was thinking about the comparison. Terminator 1, Terminator 2. He's the scariest villain you can be, and then he's this great hero in the second movie.
He needs like a box of roses.
I was just thinking that because obviously Winter Soldier was a bit like Terminator.
And we know Bucky, we've seen Bucky as a really good guy early on, but obviously just his public persona.
My question is, if that does happen, will he be as good as Captain America as Chris Evans, or does he lack something in terms of charisma or likability?
So we're going to make a big claim here. I think Chris Evans is the best actor in the Marvel Cinematic Universe at his role. I think it's the trickiest character to cast because Robert Downey Jr.
Is in there. He's
Robert Downey
banging on the window.
That's an easier role for him to play, and an easier role for audiences to gravitate towards.
Sure.
Cap is a difficult role because you play him one way, he's boring, and he's too good. he treads a really fine line between being charismatic and still being that really good guy who everyone loves, and it's really tricky. And like, I don't know. I know not every single character has had their trilogy, but a few years ago, like if you said that the Cap films would be the ones in the Marvel universe to be the critical and the commercial hits they've been, I don't think you would say it. And there's a lot rests on his shoulders, and they're very, very ample shoulders.
Enough to pull a helicopter down.
That moment, the second time I was watching it, you know what's brilliant about that moment is when he readjusts his grip.
Yeah.
So there's a bit where he's holding it, and it's not a big special effect, it's just a bit of direction. They said, you've obviously got the helicopter, just readjust your grip so you can bring it in.
I sometimes do that when I'm bumping iron though as well, so...
You do, I've seen it.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I need to pull that in.
Well, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Nice gig for him.
Yeah, it's lovely stuff for Sebastian Stan.
And he's a nice bloke. I interviewed him once.
But he's in a freezer at the minute, in Africa.
Yeah.
I wonder how long you'll stay in there for.
Do you think he'll show up in the Black Panther movie?
I think a bit distracting. How long does Winter Soldier keep in freezer?
Winter's 3 months, isn't it?
And then you've got to eat him.
Then it's spring. Then it's Spring Soldier.
Okay. All right. So last time we did some Civil War feedback. We got so much. We're going to do some more now. First one is from Noel Tate from Minneapolis in the USA. Although I enjoyed Civil War quite a bit, perhaps my second favourite MCU movie so far, I agree that some of the plot points leading up to the whole Avenger team physically beating the tar. I've never heard that phrase before. Beating the tar out of someone.
Yeah.
Never heard that before. Another seemed a bit forced. I can obviously see how the Accords would drive a rift between the team, but I think either there needed to be even higher stakes hinted at in this film, or perhaps in earlier ones. Fair, there was some in Ultron, but not enough to convince me they were willing to go to such extremes. Do you not think the Accord, like they did New York and Washington as well?
Yeah.
To justify it.
Yeah, but I think he's talking about as well having them turn on each other
so quickly.
It's quite hard. It is quite hard. I think they did as good a job as they could have.
Thing is, like, they don't turn. Like, even though they're fighting, it's not like they really turn on each other. It's kind of weird, isn't it?
One's after Winter Soldier. One's trying to protect Winter Soldier.
The battle is less about them fighting each other as like just trying to stop a thing from happening and bring them in.
Yeah, because they're not really trying to kill each other, are they? It's not like the Batman-Superman fight where they're actually...
Yeah, because I remember the first time I seen it, it was like, why are they at an airport? And then, because there's a lot to process. And the second time, it's like, oh, they're just trying to get out of the country using a helicopter that they blow up.
Yeah.
And then they take the Quinjet because it happens to be there.
Yeah. Good point, though. Yeah. Tim Newton Howes has written in saying he's going to give his good and his bad and his general impressions. So, you ready for this?
Yep.
Again, like last time, list. The good, one of the better MCU movies, not the best, one of the better. Airport scene amazing, Black Panther and Spidey, well cast and great. Particularly liked how casually, ridiculously strong Spider-Man was. We liked that, didn't we? The bad, horrible villain. Zemo was possibly the worst MCU villain ever. His aim was to split up the Avengers, and by the end there were 2 Avengers teams instead of 1. I quite like that.
That's quite good.
It made me laugh. Inconclusive, zero resolution on the Sokovia Accord. Bad title, there were hardly anything Civil War-ish about it. Lousy final act, particularly Tony's double change of heart. General impressions, better than BVS, but not by much. I'm glad it was less light-hearted, but with a couple of light-hearted characters. And questioned, why are they still scared to kill a character? And as I said in the last show, check out the site because we've actually spoken to the screenwriters about that, and they give, I think, quite a reasonable answer for why they didn't.
And also, like, after watching the movie, we talked about the Sokovia Accords. It's like, well, the end of this movie has no impact upon the world's governments, and the fact that these accords will still exist and they'll still want to get them ratified. And I think that's part of what will continue on after this film. The Russo brothers have said to us that Civil War was the setup for Infinity War, that we've torn the heroes apart. And Cap is like he's a fugitive, a renegade now, and there'll come a moment where I think a big intellect, Thanos will come to threaten the world, and the world's governments will go, right, we'll put these on hold if you can help us, and they'll make the call to Cap.
And I wouldn't be they'll have to play a part in the Netflix TV universe as well.
Yeah, I wonder how much, because they've said, because we always ask them when we interview these people, like, will Daredevil show up in this? And it seems like it's just a logistical nightmare. Like, TV happens so quickly, they find it hard to keep pace with the movie.
And they had two slightly different regimes, which I think they're not quite as far apart as they were.
Yeah.
But I'm sure these accords will come into play, being that they're in the same universe.
Yeah. Okay.
Interesting.
So, Winston from the States saw Civil War last night, and while I did enjoy Spider-Man more in one night than in thousands of viewings before, you know what, you shouldn't be watching it 1,000 times. I came away thinking
Spider-Man 3.
I came away thinking T'Challa was the best thing going in that movie for most of it. A major chunk of that movie is dedicated to showing him off to the audience, while also making them feel how powerful yet regal a man he really is. It only makes you wonder how much more we could have gotten if Spider-Man wasn't added last minute.
Yeah, well, we talked about that before.
Well, and also they've said, the screenwriters, how Black Panther's role was scalable. Yeah. They had that for a while.
And
I
plus,
didn't mind.
Boo-hoo Black Panther, but we got a really cool Spider-Man stuff.
And also, like you say, it's not like Black Panther is, really sidelined in this movie. He still has a lot to do.
Yeah.
Watching it the second time, I thought it was great when Falcon says, you're not interested why he's come back dressed like a cat. And it's a funny moment. And I love how Black Panther doesn't even rise to it. No. He just goes on a speech about being unstoppable and he will hunt you down and kill you.
He's an awesome cat.
Yeah.
This is from Sheldon in Florida, who says, started listening to the podcast last October and love it. Whoops, I never normally read those bits out. I accidentally highlighted it. Such a big head. No, I don't know. I don't like read those out. That's stupid. Anyway, thank you, Sheldon. I've watched Captain America: Civil War twice already. I think it's a great movie. Probably third favourite Marvel movie behind Winter Soldier and the first Avengers movie. Every character's dialogue and motivations were on point, but I was disappointed that no one called Stark Judas. I felt they were leading up to that line in the conversation between Clint and Stark. All fans of the Civil War comic book would have loved hearing it. Also, I think it would have been clever if Secretary of State Ross made a comment about possibly the raft being built for other dangerous individuals, i.e. the Abomination. Would have been another nice callback to the Incredible Hulk movie, since they haven't explained where he is. Could have been as simple as we have something bigger than the Hulk down below. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's really good. I like that John Ross came back, because that is the one movie that feels slightly
disconnected.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because obviously the recasting and the fact that it was, they even changed the look of the Hulk as well, so that even that's not consistent. But I like that he's a thread, and I would like him to feature more prominently going forward.
Yeah, he's a good Ross as well.
Yeah,
William Hurt.
Yeah.
But yeah, would you have liked a bit of a nod to the Abomination?
I'm all right.
Nah.
Tim
Roth, Tim Roth.
I was thinking about like other references to the Hulk movie. There's actually one in Daredevil, isn't there? Like in Ben Ulrich's office, there's a paper on the wall and it says "Destruction in Harlem," and it's actually the picture of the Edward Norton Hulk.
Interesting.
So that's there. That's in Karen's new office, because you get an office when you first.
Stop going on about that. We'll get you an office one day, Daniel.
What's an office? Right.
It's you.
It's me now. Okay, good. It's getting angry. Kieran Lay, with the ending of Civil War and Cap and Co becoming the A-team, if you can find them. What are your thoughts on when we'll next see Captain America and his team? It's pretty much accepted that the Guardians will feature in Infinity War, with a lot of people expecting them to appear at the end of Part 1. But what if Guardians 2 brought them to Earth sooner? With Infinity War's Part 1 teaming Stark's Avengers and Guardians against Thanos, at the end of Act 3 both teams could be down and out, losing the battle against Thanos. Could we have a Luke Skywalker, The Force Awakens moment, with Tony searching for Steve to bring him to the fight, finding him right at the end of Act 3?
See, I like the similarities between the Batman v Superman and Captain America plots. I think it's funny that they're so similar in some ways. So I think it would be cool if in Infinity War Part 1, while they're all doing the fighting, we cut to Cap and he's like working on a boat or in a bar, and they're playing like some really bad grunge music while he's kind of grown a beard and stuff.
Nice.
And then, agreed, maybe the end of Justice League could be them finding Superman, and the end of Infinity War could be them finding Cap.
No.
Am I being facetious?
Slightly, but no more than usual. And I think what I like about this, I don't think if Thanos has come to Earth, Cap is going to like stubbornly wait for Tony to ring him. He's like, well, I'm not coming. If he's not going to ring me, I'm not turning up.
Well, maybe he's like, well, Winter Soldier's frozen himself. I'm going to freeze myself for a bit. Yeah. I'm done with this world.
You know how much Billy loved that. Or he's like thawing out Winter Soldier in a big microwave. I would like that very much, sir.
I think you're being facetious.
I am not.
This is from Ashley Butler, who says, "Hi guys. One point that got me is if they were not going to kill War Machine, then surely they could have just used the machine from Age of Ultron to heal him, like they did Hawkeye." Sorry, can I read that again? If they were not going to kill War Machine, they could have just used the machine from Age of Ultron to heal him like they did Hawkeye, rather than the awkwardness of him falling over.
I hadn't thought about that. It's like, you know that machine that he used? No.
Ashley doesn't like the awkwardness of him falling over, and so that kind of spoilt the movie for him.
Imagine he was absolutely loving it until that point. It's like, oh, ruined it for me.
Sorry, it's a weird note for us to go out on, but
Yeah.
I felt it was worth saying.
Well, yeah, thanks for that bit of feedback, Ashley. How can other people send in similar bits of feedback?
Superhero show@ign.com. Keep them clean, keep them concise. Bullet points are always good.
Bullet points are much appreciated. You're more likely to have your email read out if it's to the point.
Yeah.
Until next week, for everything related to superheroes, you know where to stay, right here on IGN.